I like to squat it, squat it. I like to squat it, squat it. I like to squat it, squat it. You ever like to squat it? I like to squat it, squat it. I like to squat it, squat it. I like to squat it, squat it. You ever like to squat it? I like to squat it, squat it. I like to squat it, squat it. I like to squat it, squat it. You ever like to squat it? I like to squat it, squat it. I like to squat it, squat it.
A common issue among new squatters is pain in the back when squatting from the bar. A lot of new trainees will try to wrap the bar in a towel. Sometimes they'll find Velcro padding that they'll be able to put on the bar that will help alleviate some of that discomfort. Usually the issue is bar placement, and it's not usually an issue of having enough muscle on the back. I've coached a lot of people, including some very, very skinny people, who have had no problem whatsoever putting the bar on their back and racking it properly without pain. Generally speaking, it's a positioning issue. If it's not a positioning issue, it could be a flexibility issue. And in some instances, it could be a matter of not being able to keep that bar tight. We're going to talk about those things later. If you have to use a pad, I would suggest you use what's called a manta ray. The good thing about the manta ray is that it is going to be secure on the bar when you are squatting. It's not going to go anywhere once it's on there. And it will be secure on your back. Now some people, if you're very large, might find this to be uncomfortable. Some of the edges on the manta ray can dig into you if you don't have it properly positioned onto your back. But generally speaking, as long as you set yourself up under the manta ray correctly, same things apply as if you were setting up for a normal squat. Get your head back and make sure that the pad is rested squarely on your traps. Now, with the padding of any sort on a bar when you're doing back squats, you have to be careful that the squatter recognizes that the bar's center of gravity is going to be then placed higher on their back. So when you're squatting deeply, or if you have any kind of forward lean when squatting, that's going to affect you with this type of squat. It's going to be even higher than a normal high bar squat, so be careful of that. Discomfort on the back caused by the bar can sometimes be a shoulder girdle flexibility issue. If you notice your squatter to be hunched over and a bit inflexible through the chest, that might be an area to consider when they're setting up for the squat. If they are very tight in through the shoulder girdle and through the chest, they're going to have a hard time getting into a good proper position for the squat. When squatting, you want to make sure that you are in a position much like you were doing a back double biceps pose. Your upper back needs to be very tight, especially if you're squatting with a low bar position. As you come down into your squat, your elbows are going to rotate downward. Now, if your shoulders are tight, what's going to happen is your elbows are going to pitch forward, and that's going to pitch, your elbows are going to pitch upward, and that's going to pitch the bar and your head over. Not only is this bad positioning, you're really going to put yourself in a bad position lower back wise. So make sure that your elbows are turned as far forward as you can the whole time while squatting. If the shoulders are tight, a couple things you can do are doorway stretches. You'll put your forearm against a doorway or a power rack, and you'll stretch this pectoral and shoulder region. If you have a narrow doorway, you can set yourself up in order to stretch both arms at the same time. But you can do it unilaterally as well. You'll set your whole forearm up against that rack or doorway, and then you'll turn your body in the opposite direction. as with anything, start out slow. In Squat Rex 4, when we were talking about bar positioning, we also talked about the bar being bent and collars being frozen. Those can definitely put extra stress on your shoulders. So make sure that you double check the bar before you go if you're having any shoulder pain while squatting. There are a couple things that you can also try. If the bar is slipping despite your best efforts, you can also try chalking the bar if your gym will allow it. Another trick that I heard from Rocky Tilson was to wear 2 tight-fitting t-shirts when squatting. And if you have a bar with decent knurling on it, knurling is the needle-like rough surface of the bar. If the knurling is sharp enough, and if you're wearing 2 tight t-shirts, it really will help the bar kind of settle into a good place on your back. And typically speaking, the t-shirts will help keep you dry, help keep the bar dry, help keep the bar in place. If the trainee is having difficulty staying tight with their upper back while squatting, there are a few exercises that you can help the trainee get stronger. Some of the common exercises would be bent over laterals, another good exercise for strengthening the upper back are bent over barbell rows. Bend over at the waist with plenty of knee bend. Make sure that your upper back is tight as possible, and you're going to pull the weight to your gut, squeezing the elbows together. Now, it's okay to use a little bit of leg drive throughout this exercise, but you want to make sure that you aren't losing any abdominal or lower back tension throughout. Barbell shrug is another exercise to strengthen the upper back. With the regular barbell shrug, you're going to have your face forward. You're just going to shrug your shoulders to your ears and down. A variation of this exercise is called the Kelso shrug. Typically, you would be supported on a bench. However, the basic gist of the Kelso shrug is that you are in a position parallel to the ground and shrugging. Rowing variation that you can try is the one-arm dumbbell row. You can do this on a bench. I prefer to do it with both feet on the ground. You're going to stagger your feet, and you're going to pull the weight to your gut. Now notice that the dumbbell travels from below my shoulder to my gut. Now, a couple things you'll want to keep in mind when doing a one-arm dumbbell row. You don't want your shoulder and your lat to go lax at the bottom of the row. You want to make sure that you are keeping that shoulder in tight and tense throughout the movement. If you allow your shoulder to go too loose at the bottom, you're going to be putting a lot more stress on that shoulder. So, keep that shoulder in tight, keep that lat flexed, and pull it to your gut. A breakdown in squat form can generally be attributed to 4 or 5 things, depending on how you're counting them. The most common form breakdown cause is just simply that the squatter has not learned proper form yet. And usually proper cues and a little bit of coaching will get them on their way. A second common cause of form breakdown in the squat is fatigue, both within the workout and among workouts. If recovery is poor, you can expect to see a breakdown in form. A third reason are muscular imbalances. Now when I say imbalances, I can mean mobility, I can mean flexibility or strength. All those things are interconnected. If you have muscular imbalances, you need to address those, either with unilateral work or some kind of flexibility program. The last common cause of form breakdown with the squat are injuries or detraining and coming back too quickly from those injuries or detraining. If you're having form issues, you really need to deal with those underlying causes. Work on your form, but at the same time address those weaknesses, target them, hit them hard, but allow for enough recovery. Hopefully you'll see some improvement in your squatting soon.